The New Orleans Saints were supposed to be a punchline, but right now, they are the team nobody should circle as an easy win. All summer, people said they would fight just to avoid the worst record in football, that they would sleepwalk to the #1 pick and quietly reset. Instead, even with a record of 4 wins and 10 losses, they are walking into stadiums and wrecking other teams' plans, not their own. This is not some fake feel-good story where a bad team steals one random upset then disappears. The Saints are forcing contenders to play 4 full quarters, taking games deep and making every snap feel like a test of pride. That is not what you say about a broken franchise. That is what you say about a group that is starting to believe it is on the rise. The wild part is how fast that belief showed up once Tyler Shuck took over and started stacking moments instead of excuses. In NFC South play, he already has 3 wins in 4 division games, knocking the Carolina Panthers off balance and turning the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into another team that has to sweat when New Orleans shows up. Drives that used to end in empty red zone trips are now turning into tight window throws to Chris Olave, clutch grabs from role players, and long marches that tilt the whole stadium. You can feel it in the way the huddle moves and in the way the sideline reacts when the offense gets rolling. This is not just a quarterback putting up numbers. This is a young leader changing how his teammates carry themselves in big moments. Behind all of that is Kel Moore, quietly building a new standard where resilience is not a slogan. It is the core of the job. The offense is reshaped around quick decisions and trust in Tyler Shuck. The defense keeps giving this team chances to steal games late. And even special team stories like Charlie Smith turning clutch kicks into wins fit the same theme. The goal is not a lucky playoff cameo that fades in one season. The goal is a long window where every opponent knows they have to earn everything against New Orleans. If this is what the Saints look like at the very start of the rebuild, the real question is how dangerous they become once the offense is fully built around their new quarterback, and that is where the story really starts to get interesting. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Saints and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 500 likes on this video. Nobody outside New Orleans thought this offense would scare anyone once Tyler Shuck got the job. Draft grades called him a safe backup. Talk shows said he was too old to matter. And the word rookie was used like an insult, not a fresh start. The expectation was simple that the Saints would lean on handoffs, short field goals, and hope the defense kept scores low. Instead, what we have now is an attack that looks sharper every week, built around a quarterback who gets the ball out fast, punishes soft coverage, let a drive die just because the first read is covered. The shock is not that Tyler Shuck is surviving. The shock is that the whole offense now takes on his calm and his swagger. You can see Kel Moore fingerprints all over this shift. He trimmed the calls that asked Tyler Shuck to hold the ball forever and loaded up the plan with quick outs, rhythm slants, and crossers that let receivers catch the ball on the move. Backs like Audric Estime leak out as late outlets. Juwan Johnson works the seams, and Chris Olave has become the centerpiece of a passing game that lives between the numbers, then punishes you outside when corners get nosy. Inside the 20-yard line, the play calling feels patient instead of panicked, with layered routes that force defenses to cover every blade of grass. It is not about cute trick plays. It is about putting the ball in the hands of the best players in spots where they can win clean. The most important part is that this entire build only works because Tyler Shuck plays like the steady heartbeat, not like a nervous rookie. He does not stare down his first option. He moves defenders with his eyes. He trusts timing windows that less confident passers never even try. When protection cracks, he slides. Instead of bailing, keeps his base and still delivers throws that keep the drive alive. That is the kind of growth that does not show up fully in a box score, but it shows up when the defense knows the pass is coming in the fourth quarter and still cannot knock this offense off rhythm, which is exactly where the story is heading next. The clearest picture of who the New Orleans Saints are becoming showed up when they were staring at a scoreboard that read 17-7 against Carolina, with the season drifting away. That is the spot where a young passer is supposed to tense up, force throws, and let the moment swallow him. Instead, Tyler Shuck came out for those last 2 drives, playing like the whole situation had finally slowed down. Every drop back had purpose. Every ball left his hand on time. And the Panthers' defense suddenly looked like the unit searching for answers. You could feel it snap by snap, the energy on the Saints sideline, flipping from hoping for a miracle to expecting a response. That is not about luck. That is about a rookie deciding that pressure is his responsibility, not his excuse. On that comeback run, the details told you everything about where Tyler Shuck is in his development. Early in the drive, he ripped a timing throw to Kevin Austin Jr., putting the ball on the outside shoulder before the break so the corner never had a chance to undercut it. Then he went back to Chris Olave on those deep curl and in breaking routes. What made the performance even more revealing was how he managed risk without playing scared. On the late sideline throw, he placed the ball where Chris Olave could get down before taking a huge shot, choosing location over show-off yards. Over the middle, he gave his target a slightly back shoulder look to protect him from a safety bearing down, proving he understands that leadership also means keeping your playmakers healthy. Tight end Juwan Johnson became a reliable answer when the coverage pushed the ball underneath, and each completion pulled the defense closer to the line, opening more space for the next strike. That whole finish turned a quiet night into a statement that this offense can close when it has to. The twist now is that the next tests are coming with key weapons missing, which is where the story shifts to life without Devon Vele and Devin Neal, and what it really means for Tyler Shuck to lift a shorthanded group. Losing Devon Vele on the outside and Devin Neal in the backfield changed the entire look of this New Orleans offense in 1 week. Those two were security pieces for Tyler Shuck, one giving him a big frame and strong hands on the perimeter, the other giving him a patient runner who could keep the chains moving and steady the game. Add the questions around Alvin Kamara and the constant shuffling on the offensive line, and suddenly, this is not a comfortable environment for a young rookie quarterback. It is the kind of situation where a season can quietly fall apart if the replacements are not ready, and the league is watching to see if the Saints simply patch holes or actually uncover new threats. What makes this stretch interesting is how many names now have a real chance to change their careers. Audric Estime gets to be the tone setter, a downhill runner who can hammer inside, then leak out on screens to punish aggressive fronts. Evan Hull brings a different style with more lateral quickness and soft hands, giving Kel Moore a true change of pace option who can stress linebackers in space. At wide receiver, Kevin Austin Jr. moves from situational snaps into a bigger spotlight, using his size on crossers and comebacks, while Mason Tipton can stretch the field and clear space underneath. Veterans like Dante Pettis give Tyler Shuck extra bodies with length and experience. None of these roles are about copying Devon Vele or Devin Neal. They are about building a different version of the same offense. For Tyler Shuck, this is where the evaluation gets real, because elevating a shorthanded group is what separates a fun story from a future franchise leader. He has to turn checkdowns to Audric Estime into drive starters, give Evan Hull chances to hit cutback lanes off light boxes, and trust that throws to Kevin Austin Jr., Mason Tipton, Dante Pettis, and Juwan Johnson will look routine, not desperate. If he can keep this attack on schedule without two of his main helpers, then the narrative shifts from he fits the system to the system grows around him. The twist is that all of this happens against a New York Jets team with clear strengths and clear weaknesses, which sets up a very specific chess match that the Saints have to win if they want this new identity to be taken seriously. The New Orleans Saints walk into this New York matchup with a strange kind of pressure. On paper, this is the type of game they are supposed to control. Yet the Jets have just enough strengths to punish any lazy snap. Their run defense sits among the league leaders. Their front does a solid job clogging interior lanes, and MetLife energy can tilt fast if you fall behind early. For Tyler Shuck, a rookie starting against a team that wants to turn this into a grind, this is not just another outing. It is a test of whether he can guide an offense that has to win with precision instead of comfort. The twist is that the one area where New York is most vulnerable is exactly where this new Saints identity wants to live. The Jets' secondary looks patched together after trades and injuries, and their pressure rate sits near the bottom of the league, which is a dangerous mix against a quarterback who thrives on rhythm and timing. With extra time in the pocket, Tyler Shuck, and in breaking routes, ask Kevin Austin Jr. to bully corners on the boundary and give Juwan Johnson chances to win down the seams. When New York leans into heavy man coverage, crossing concepts can turn into long chases, especially if backs like Audric Estime and Evan Hull leak late into the flat. The goal is not to chase some huge fantasy line. It is to hit that sweet spot of around 200 to 250 passing yards, move the chains, and turn red zone trips into touchdowns instead of settling. If the Saints stay aggressive and smart in the air, that Jets front never gets to dictate how this game feels. On the other side, the Saints defense has a clear invitation to attack a Jets offense that ranks dead last through the air at around 147 passing yards per game. New York will lean hard on Breece Hall and hope Brady Cook can do just enough. But that is where players like Chase Young, Demario Davis, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker, and Justin Reed can flip the script, stuff early runs, force long third downs, and suddenly a rookie quarterback who already has multiple interceptions is throwing into tight windows while the crowd gets anxious. For a long time, the New Orleans Saints had a strange reputation. One week, they could trade blows with top contenders. The next week, they could stumble against a team everyone expected them to beat. Fans knew that feeling where you sit down on Sunday and have no idea which version of the team is showing up. That is what Kellen Moore walked into, a franchise with talent and history, but a habit of drifting in and out of focus. Instead of promising instant glory, he started attacking that problem in the boring places that never make highlights: meetings, practice tempo, how players respond after a bad series, how coaches correct mistakes without losing trust. The goal is simple. You get the same level of effort and detail every single week, no matter who is across from you. You can see how that mindset has reached the locker room leaders. Veterans who lived through the late seasons of Drew Brees and the wild ride of Jameis Winston understand what it looks like when the floor is unstable, even when the ceiling is high. Now those same voices are echoing the message that standards come first, not the scoreboard. Tyler Shuck talks about owning his decisions instead of blaming protection. Defenders like Demario Davis keep the front locked into assignments even when the offense stalls. And younger players look around and realize there is no space for feeling sorry for themselves. When you watch this team late in games, there's less panic and more problem solving. From how they handle sudden change situations to how they answer after a bad call or a big play allowed. That is what happens when the entire building starts acting like preparation is their identity. The real test of any new standard is whether it shows up in the hidden corners of a season. It is in how special teams responds after a miss, how depth players stay ready for surprise snaps, how coaches tweak roles without wrecking confidence. Under Kellen Moore, the Saints are leaning into those small edges instead of treating them like afterthoughts, rewarding grinders who make the most of every chance and trusting them in critical moments. That is why stories around this team are starting to include names that used to barely be mentioned, including a kicker who turned limited opportunities into season-defining moments. Those little shifts are not random. They are part of a bigger plan. And you see that plan clearly when you look at the hidden edges that are now helping New Orleans close tight games instead of watching them slip away. The New Orleans Saints are not just rebuilding on offense and defense, they are squeezing every last edge out of the smallest details. Games that swing by one late kick or one field position mistake used to feel like coin flips. Now they feel like situations this team is quietly preparing to own. Hidden pieces like Charlie Smith and smart depth moves are turning close finishes into controlled moments instead of chaotic endings. It might not grab headlines the way a deep shot to Chris Olaway does, but this is the part of the story that separates a fun rebuild from a serious long-run plan. When you see a franchise polishing the little things, you know they are aiming for something much bigger than a single surprise season. Charlie Smith is the perfect example of that mindset. He did not arrive as some crowned star. He fought through tryouts, sat in the background on the practice squad, and kept stacking quiet wins and drills until coaches had no choice but to trust him when the game was on the line. Then he answered with long kicks and tough spots, including that late winner that felt like a full reset for the whole building. You could see teammates swarm him, not just because the ball went through, but because they know how much work it took for him to even stand on that field. A kicker like that changes how a coach calls plays in the fourth quarter, changes how a young quarterback like Tyler Shuck feels when a drive stalls just outside the red zone, and changes how opponents think when they realize they cannot simply hope for a miss. Front office moves tell a similar story. Signing a versatile weapon like Nyheim Miller-Hines to the practice squad is not about splash. It is about having another piece who can catch, run, and return when injuries pile up. Keeping competition alive at every spot, from Cade York pushing Charlie Smith earlier in the year to backs fighting for carries behind Audric Estime and Evan Hull, creates a room where no one gets comfortable and everyone knows performance decides everything. All of that matters for Tyler Shuck because it means he is growing inside a structure that takes every inch of winning seriously. The more stable his support system becomes, the easier it is to judge the real question that hangs over this whole project, whether he is just a good story for today or the long-term answer at quarterback for New Orleans. The New Orleans Saints have not had a real answer at quarterback since Drew Brees walked away, and now everything circles back to one name. Tyler Shuck arrived with more questions than hype, labeled a late flyer and treated like a bridge piece instead of a future face of the franchise. Fast forward to this moment, and that quiet doubt has turned into a loud argument in living rooms and group chats about what he actually is. Is this just a strong stretch from a confident rookie? Or are we watching the first chapters of the next true leader in New Orleans? The tension around that question is the fuel behind almost every snap he takes. To sort that out, you have to look past the highlight throws and focus on what never shows up on the graphic. Tyler Shuck has already checked boxes that front offices obsess over, from processing speed to situational control. He runs the huddle with calm, adjusts protections, and trusts timing windows that demand real conviction. He has lifted a banged-up offense, kept drives alive when protection wobbles, and shown that his play does not crumble when key weapons like Devon Vele and Devin Neal are unavailable. When the moment swells, he does not shrink into safe checkdowns. He finds a way to keep attacking without recklessness. That blend of poise and courage is what separates a good starter from someone you build a whole era around. The rest of the league is starting to notice that his name belongs in the same conversations as young stars like Jaden Daniels, not as an afterthought behind them. The Saints do not need Tyler Shuck to prove everything in one season, but every comeback, every tight window throw, and every drive, Juwan Johnson, Audric Estime, Evan Hull, Kevin Austin Jr., and the rest of the group adds another piece to the case. If this is what he looks like while still a rookie, in a reshaping roster with new standards under Kel Moore, the real curiosity is what happens once he gets a full offseason as the unquestioned starter and a healthier cast around him. At that point, the question flips from can he be the long-term answer to how far this version of the Saints can go with him at the center of everything.